it's January the 16th, 2021. So happy New Year to everyone. And it's time to start now for this year's growing. So for those who were new to gardening last year because of the whole lockdown restraints and thought they'd try growing their own for the first time ever, you'll go into this year obviously a bit more better knowledge for it because you've had a go at it and you've got the time now to do a bit of preparation. So you can start some of your things a little bit early, but not too early, because if you've not got a greenhouse or anything like that, or somewhere to sort of protect your seedlings, it can all go horribly wrong. And also windowsills are okay if they're well lit, but they can tend to produce leggy, tall seedlings, which is you don't want. You're better off waiting till probably, March, mid-March maybe, because a lot of seed packets say from March. Well, a lot of time March isn't really warm enough for a lot of things, so April can be a good month. But if you've got something that you can put under cover, it can even be like a tray like this, supermarket tray with a little bit of perspex over the top, and put it up somewhere high, like on top of a wheelie bin or something like that, where it can get a bit of good light. You could probably line around the sides if you want to do something else just to stop any chill. If you've got, the idea is whatever you've got, keep in a small area and it kind of help it keep a bit warm rather than, but it only takes one night of frost to cause a lot of problems. So I'd go on the side of caution and just be patient if you haven't got the place to protect things. And if you haven't got grow lights, doesn't matter. It's handy for growing things earlier on if you're growing exhibition stuff, and they do help. You can get some earlier sowings in, but they're not essential. If you want to grow a traditional way, just wait a little while, and you'll still get a good year, weather permitting. So we're going to sow some garlic first of all, then I've got some other seeds, some onions and some peppers. So I've just basically got some little 7cm pots filled with multi-purpose compost. The compost I'm using this year is just by a company called Evergreen. It's Irish Blend, it's called. I just got that because it's a local guy delivers it. So I thought, save me going down garden centres, traipsing around, and taking an unnecessary risk that I don't really have to at the moment. I thought, well, I'll get some of this and it'll do the job. But any multi-purpose will do, and what you got, if you got your own compost, great, use your own compost. Seedlings don't need rich feed or anything like that. So we shall crack on. So I split some garlic yesterday. I put it in the fridge overnight. So I basically got, a garlic bulb, split it open into its individual cloves, pick the better ones out, because you get some small ones as well. But they're from my own garlic from last year. So the ones that you saw me, for those who followed, these are the ones that I sowed sort of around this time last year. And then you watch them grow through the season. Then I pulled them, probably July or something like that, and I dried them, and then you watch me string them. Back when Jack was still around, but still no sign of Jack. I think he's around with some other jackdaws, to be honest, but he's never been back. But fingers crossed he's okay, and he might revisit in the spring. We never know. But right, so we shall crack on with doing this. Right, the variety of this garlic is Solent White. It's the same one I've grown for many years. There are other varieties, soft necks and hard necks. Hard necks tend to be better flavour but don't store as well. So Solent White's a good all-rounder. It stores great. You can sow it in the autumn or in the spring. So I tend to go a bit in between and give them a head start in pots. Because if the ground's too wet, they're not going to really like it. But if you've got good soil, yeah, they'll do okay if you put them direct. So different things, so you can use smaller pots, but unlike onion sets where you kind of put them shallow, garlic you tend to put a little bit deeper. These things are called dibbers, a bit small for garlic. Ideal for small, tiny seeds, just put a little indentation and things like that. So I'm just using a good old-fashioned finger. I'm going to just finger these pots, just basically to my knuckle. They're quite deep, so you look at like a clove of garlic to my finger. It's going to go down quite a bit, so I'm going to take it all the way down to my knuckle. I'm just simply going to push my finger right down. They're not heavily compacted in these pots because I will top them up once they've had a bit of sort of watering over the next coming weeks and everything settles. That's just to help keep the actual garlic clove down, because sometimes you might not see anything happening at the top, but ignore what's going on at the top. Just look at the bottom of the pot and you'll see roots before you see any top. So if there's roots there, after maybe 3 or 4 weeks, you can, if you wanted to, try and give one of the cloves a little tug, and if it's well anchored, it's growing, so don't panic. You know, that's what it's all about in the colder months. You think things aren't growing, but they're putting roots down. And as soon as that temperature hits, they've got a good root base down. And then they're off to a good start. The tops will grow, you'll have a vigorous plant then. You can wash all your pots year after year. I give mine a quick rinse. I don't go mad because, I don't know, it seems to be defeating the object when you grow them in a real sterile environment, then you go and stick them out into soil that's got all sorts of things. So find it's happy medium. Just give them a bit of a swill with some water, rub off any excess muck and that, and good to go. And simply just get your individual cloves and just shove them down. It's handy to pre-make a little hole because you don't want to damage the actual root plate of it. So they go in. You know, if you think of a clove, you've got a little pointy end, that's going to come to the top. Some people used to snip them with scissors. Sometimes it can help, encourage the tip to come through, but I never bother. It'll find its own way and bust through. So probably one of the easiest things to start off garlic, and they need it. You know, if you haven't got a lot of space, garlic's not really something that's beneficial to grow. You know, unless if you use loads of it. But you can interplant it in between things, but it's going to be in the ground, you know, till probably, well, July. And then, so you can think like when you're going to pull something out, like pull these out in July, have something ready, you know, that's a late grower. You know, you can put some late brassicas in, you know, as long as the seedlings are about 4 or 5 weeks old. Pull your garlic out, shove some brassicas in. You know, for a bit of an October crop, some lettuce for late season, or your rocket and things like that. You know, probably French climbing beans. You know, your runner beans, they kind of tolerate until the frost hit them. There's no reason to have empty beds through the year too much because soil don't like to be exposed. It'll just fill it with weeds. But I've noticed a few of you, you know, have started the Hilda's Mixed Sweet Peas, so a big thank you to those who've had them off me. You know, there's been a real big demand this year for them, so I've managed to save enough seed for myself. I've still got quite a bit left, but there's been a big demand, and it's really great knowing that they're grown. You know, I'd love to find, you know, the videos of them, you know, but it's just trying to search for them. Could take a while. So if you've grown any and you've got any videos on the Hilda's Mix, and if you hashtag it or something like that, whatever you do to make it easier in the search, and great. But so just the same stuff that's in the pot, multi-purpose compost with a bit of vermiculite in it. I'm just going to go along. I mean, you could just cover these with, you know, with the compost that's in there, but I'm just going to add it on top. No finesse, no fancy stuff around, because all this compost is going to sink down a bit when it gets watered. I'm not going to water it tonight because it is dampish, the compost. You know, and it's fairly chilly. You know, but not icy cold. You know, you could keep it in for a few days, but garlic needs the cold to actually split and form its individual cloves. Otherwise, you can have some that's just looks like a big bulb, but it's just one big solid lump of garlic, which is okay, you know, but it won't really store so well. So this is a great story. So you don't have to do it now. You can, you know, there's no rush. You can put it directly in your ground in March, and it'll just be ready sort of September time. You know, it's like a lot of things. You have a few problems. For one, I get a thing called rust. So the longer I can get it to grow for, the better. It's a bit like, I suppose, potato blight. You know, if you can get that a few extra weeks, can be the difference between peanut-sized potatoes and an actual potato. So garlic's a bit the same. So I'm just trying to pinch a few weeks growth by getting them off for a good start in here. So that's all the garlic done. Solent white. There's 80 altogether, more than what I need. You know. But I think I did 70 odd last year, and they probably just last me, and whatever's left I blitz down, put them with some butter and freeze them in ice cube trays, so you get like a garlic butter that's ready to go, really, to just put in your cooking recipes and that. Right, so we'll crack on with some, I think we'll probably do peppers and onions next. Right, for the onions, I'm going to try using these again. Little tiny cell trays. I think they're sort of like, at, 12mm or 15mm going down to about 10mm at the bottoms. So they are quite small, little tiny plug trays. They're okay for onions, to be honest. I might end up putting them in something a bit bigger along the line. I don't know. It just depends. I'll see. But it's just a way, if I put them somewhere, I've got any sort of misfired, because I hate having empty cells, so... because last year, my onions were a bit later because the first batch of seed was just a complete fail. Nothing. But the second batch, fine. When there were new seeds. No, I think it's just been a bit of a duff batch. So I'm going to fill this with exactly the same. I'm going to use probably this compost for all my seedlings this year. Because it's not long now. I do all my brassicas and my tomatoes, spring onions and that. Get started sort of February 16th, so it's not far away. Just simply going to lob this all over the top. Like that, and then just use my fingers. I'm not going to push it in too hard, but because if it's too loose, when you come to take the seedling out, it will crumble. It's a bit too easy. So you've got it something firm for it to hold on to. You're not so bad. Let's just give it a bit of a rough sort of pressing down. You can use the 40 cell trays if you've got the room to do it, but I haven't got a lot of room. Because these will stay indoors for a little while, these onions. Because things with onions, if they get warm and then they suddenly get hit with a real cold snap, they might sort of think it's winter, which then when they start growing, they'll go to seed quite early. So it's just a temperature thing with onions. They're okay. They can go down to a fairly cold temperature. I tend to try and get them till they've just, at least half to 3/4 of them have started to just poke their heads out, and then I put them out then. But they're on. These aren't going to go under grow lights. These are going to go on the windowsill, and you might think the windowsills is a warm place, but not necessarily. A windowsill can be something like anywhere between 10 and 15 degrees, really. Which is a good germinating temperature, and it's not all nice and hot for them. So so don't be deceived by they're not at room temperature. And if you've got a bit of a draft, sometimes seedlings might not germinate. They might just need a couple of days just to spark that little bit of germination, and then they're okay then. But you don't want to be getting these sort of like 3 or 4 inches high and then go and whop them out in in freezing cold weather, because you might stress them out a bit. There's ways a decent seed tray, a little propagator, and that, and wrap it with fleece. Just at a few extra degrees can cause all the difference. Where you can have a good set of seedlings, don't have any problems. But you sometimes get some that go to seed. But this variety is Santero. I wrote it because it's supposedly mildew resistant. And I do get a bit of mildew on the plot. But I had something else going on my onions last year. Not quite sure what it was. I'll just have to take pot luck this year. Just make sure I don't put the onions in the same place they were last year up at the plot. I don't strictly follow any strict rotation to a degree. Because it is a kind of tested thing, that grow something in the same place 5-6 years and everything seems fine. But it only takes a problem to build up, and then you're stuck with it for a long time then. Certain things like white rock, it's about 15-20 years, something like that, or even longer. But, just one of the things about gardening, that you can't always have it your own way. it's not something you can really teach. You just have to try and experiment, and when you find what works for you on your plot or in your garden, your soil and your weather conditions, your light conditions, your growing positions and all that, like what works best, and then you kind of got it sussed for your area. Right, so that's them all filled up, ready to go. I'm not going to show sowing all of them because I'm going to do them all the same. So the Santero onions are these ones which store really well. And these are from a sort of, I think, a July harvest last year. Still perfectly fine. Still got plenty of them, you know, but they've got to last me. And then the other ones I've got are Red Spark. Red ones used to be a bugger for going to seed, but it used to be Red Baron I used to grow. But these Red Spark, for red onion, they store pretty well. You know, I should imagine there's a couple of months storage on these. And then the Santero I've had to store right through to May. You know, so it's a good variety, but they will start to go a bit funny for a while. It's like the garlic, that stores fine as well. So I'm just going to use my little dibber. You know, and you can push little indentations down if you want to do it like that. But I'm just going to use a little dibber and dip down. Probably maybe 10 centimetres, if that. You know, same again, it's fairly firmed up in here, you know, so it won't all fall to pieces with a bit of luck. Oh. You can push it down with your finger. You know, if you don't pre-pack it and put the indentation, just drop the seed in. I just do this because it kind of gets them to fire in the middle. You know, rather than at the sides. You know, I'm not expecting every single one to fire. Even though I've had that before, which is great when you get a tray, you think, oh, everything's fired. You know, but don't be disheartened or impatient, because sometimes it can take up to 3 weeks or maybe longer. I'll do the Red Spark first. I've got some other onions to try out. I think the variety called Bristol, I think they're called, but I'll do them later if I've got the room to do them. So it's just a case of going along and drop in. Try to drop a seed, sometimes two might go in, don't matter, you can always thin out as you go along. You know, and sometimes, you know, you can just cover them with vermiculite, you know, which I sometimes do. But this should be fine. I only tend to do about, you know, 30 of the Red Spark. But if all of them fire, I might do it. I think there's 40 in this tray, I think, maybe more, 48. So it doesn't matter if you get extra seeds, you can always pull them out, you know, and sort of select the strongest one. You can pre-soak your trays, because what I'll do with these, I'll probably water these from the bottom. I'll just sit them in a tray of water until the top darkens off a little bit. You know, it doesn't take long, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes, and that's all the water they'll get until they've germinated, unless if it looks incredibly dry. They are quite a small seed, so I used to grow from sets most of the time, like things like the Stuttgart and things like that, but I'm just going to basically shake them like that. I'm just going to go over, do that, and it's now stopping if you wanted to just sling a bit more compost over the top, just to make sure it's got a good firming down. I'll give it a bit of a water from top just to settle it down. You know, just to show you, you don't need to drown them. They don't have got little water, because I don't know where my little pot bottle waters are. They're all over the garden somewhere. So they don't need to be absolutely drowned. You know, you kind of get the feel for water, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with sometimes. You know, sometimes you think things aren't firing because they're too dry and you add more water and you drown it, but it'll feel a little bit heavier. That's the main difference you'll feel. You don't want it so it feels like really heavy. So that's the red sparks. I'm going to do all my other onions exactly the same. So I'll get on with them and we'll have a look at peppers next. Right, so all the onions done. Ended up filling the other ones up with actually a bit of vermiculite rather than compost. So I've not got quite enough seeds to fill one of the full trays, so I'm kind of like, 12 seeds short, but I've got 132 Santero and 48 of the red spark zone, so it's enough for now. I've ordered some more Santero seeds anyway, just in case these fail. I've had these unopened packet I bought last year. So I'm going to do peppers now. Some of these have never grown before. They're just a present I got off Mrs. Like, so I thought, well, give them a whirl. Just a little set of seeds. Sweet banana pepper, California Wonder, I've grown them before, they're like a bit of a standard bell pepper, and Pepper Hot Anaheim, never had that. I'll be doing, same as last year, I'll do some Apache. My Apache plants they're pretty much dead, but they're full of chilies I need to pick off to dry out and blend up into like a chili powder. So you could use small little pots for these if you want, but I'm just going to use these, which I use a lot of time, really. It's like you can get 5 to a tray roughly. I got them from a local garden centre. They are quite tricky to find for some people, I think, but use anything you lay your hands on. Seeds aren't really bothered, as long as you give them some ground to grow in. So they'll start off in here and I'll prick them out depending on you know, how many I'm going to have of each and how many germinate, because I need to plan what I'm going to grow yet. I've not even thought about that. I'm just starting things off, and then it gives me no choice then. I've got to plan it. Right, so fill them up with the same stuff as the other ones. A bit of multi-purpose. Bodge it in. And just keep sort of layering it up. Just patting on it gently. Make sure you've got it down into the old corners and whatnot. When you're happy you've got enough in, and some of this stuff out of the way. Like so. I'm going to use these now, one on top of the other like that. Push that down. It gives you a good light, you know, 5 to 10 mil. You press it down. It's as easy as that. So I'll have to do it that way because I've no labels rolled yet, so I'm going to lay the packets out in accordance with what I'm doing first. So I'll do a patchy. I'm just going to do half of each, I think. I've got like jalapenos and stuff that I can probably sow at a later date. I haven't got so many of these Apaches left, to be honest. These are last year's seeds. I'm not going to grow as many as last year, I don't think, so I only end up with 4, but there's nothing to say that the seeds are all viable. So I have 6 seeds. Yeah, that's enough. You know, because one plant can give you like 40, 50. So I'm just going to lay them on the top of the soil. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do first. For those who are a bit concerned about watering, pre-water the bottoms. Yeah, just in case, you know, some people are a bit, they fill it up and they put a lot of water on, they don't know if they've watered enough and that, but this way, at least you're not going to sort of drown the seed where it's all, you know, in a load of wet slop that can't really dry out properly. You don't have to worry about this bit too much underneath because, like I say, it's only going to go downwards. It's not going to really come upwards so much. And this watering can is donkey's years old. I think I'll be really old myself by the time it finishes draining. It's the slowest thing in the world. That'll do for that because that's all the watering can's got in it. You know, you should notice that they will feel quite a bit heavier. I'm just going to lay 6 seeds, if I can get it off my finger. Like that, 1. Right, if you just give them like about an inch apart in all directions, it'll do that, you know. Right, so that's the 6 Apaches. I think next time I'll do these Anaheim, these hot ones. At least I know anything that one is a bit hot. I can get in the packet. God, it's plastic coated this. Some scissors. Right. I'm not organised in the slightest. That's it, when you've been in sort of like the steady slumber for a little while, it's getting going that's the tricky bit. Do the same again with this. Just do 6 of these as well, I think. So if I only get like 50% germination, I've got 3 of each. And that'll be enough. What I need really. And if you have any problems, I've got 2 of them seeds left over. That's that. We'll do California Wonder. Haven't even got any scissors on hand. Using a knife for this. Right. I've not grown the California Wonder for a couple of years, I don't think. So we'll give them another go. Peppers do need like quite a long growing season, so it does help to have like greenhouses and stuff like that regarding this, and even grow lights in a way. But you'll get this even if you don't sow them till March. You'll get some off, and there might just be a lot of green peppers because they need the age to go through the colours to get the nice red. You know, some people say that, you know, the green's a bit bitter, but by the pepper's a pepper. You've grown some food for yourself. Should be proud of yourself. These are the banana ones. I did some Bull's Horn last year. They were a bit banana-y. I did alright pepper wise last year. Last year was a good year. I just had the time, you know, and the weather wasn't quite so bad. Now, if you haven't got any vermiculite, don't worry. Just put a thin, really thin layer of compost on that. Really thin. I mean, probably you just do that 3 mil on top of that, but I've got some vermiculite because it's pretty wet down the bottom. I don't really need to water this again. Just enough so you can't see the seed. And if you're going to sow any lettuce or anything like that, which you can do if you've got some boxes or trays you want to sow, you can do a bit of that now if you want to, and fire it on the windowsill, pop it in a cold frame or something. That's exactly the same, not too deep, just enough to cover it. You can grind your vermiculite down finer if you want, but I just buy it by a big sack of vermiculite. I mean, I've had this sack, I think, 3 years now, and I've not even approached the halfway mark yet. I have a big sack in the shed. It can be a bit horrendous if you knock it over or get it out when it's windy. It does blow about, it's very light. It's just blown rock, really, that's all it is. It just makes it nice and easy for seedlings to lift through. You know, and it allows a little bit of light through, just to help so they know which direction they're going. You know, if you wanted to put a little bit of water on that, just go very sparing, but I wouldn't worry too much about it, because you can see it'll be darkened off because it will absorb water, the vermiculite. You know, and them seeds are in contact with wet compost underneath. You just don't want the seedling to sort of start to germinate and then dry out. So I better do some labels for them. Well, I can remember. Someone gave me a tip a few years ago, for those who don't think about it, when you're writing your label, right from the rounded end that way. Sometimes you do that way, you'll run out of room. But it's lucky I do labels sometimes. That's the Apache. I'm not bothering putting dates on. It's another handy tip for having YouTube. You can just look back on that. That one. And then we've got California under. Put Cal under. And I'll put Banana Sweet. Right, that's them done. Shift them out of the way. Right, get these packets out of the way now. I might, if I can think on at the end of this video, I'll show you how I store my seeds and things like that. Right, leeks. There's no real fancy way of doing leeks, really. Just you better have to get a single pot, fairly big. You don't want anything massive unless you're going to do a lot of them. I'll just fill it up with compost. Same stuff again. That's it's full right at the top. Now I'm just going to push it down. Make sure it's kind of packed down a bit. A bit more in for the lump. If you've got a little block of wood or something handy, then that's great, you know, for flattening things down, get a nice flat surface. But they're all luxury items that you don't really need. Just get it somewhere near. You know, 'cause sometimes you can plant things perfectly and they don't grow, but yet you get a seed and just lob it on the ground anywhere and it grows. I'm using tap water, but I'm filling it from my hot tap, so it's kind of had a bit of time sat in the pipes, so it's not freezing cold. And that's just going to get probably all this can in it, to be honest, because there's quite a lot of compost there to soak up. And these will just go on the windowsill until there's a good few of them poking up. You know, once you get a few of them about a centimetre or so high, then they'll go out then. The leeks are one of them things that do require quite a long growing season. You can either sow them now for an early crop or sow another batch for a later crop, you know, sort of, so you're putting them out around, you know, May, June. But same again, you know, there's leeks are one of the early things to sow, you know. But if you've not got a greenhouse or out, they're not too bad because they will tolerate quite a bit of cold. They just need that germination sort of temperature to get them started. And no pricking holes for this, just toss a few seeds on the top. Probably a little bit more. You can always put a pot at the bottom of this to let it soak up a bit of water. Because the seeds are hard. You know, they've got to soak up a bit of water and start to swell, and then they split then. So that's that one. Right, found my leek seeds. And what have I got? I've got a packet here. It's open. I think it's some I got from a subscriber a couple of years ago called Sue Jones. Oh, Sue, if you're watching, I'm still using them. Are they in date? Probably not, but don't always go by the date. You might be throwing some really good seeds away. Because it's early in the year, it's no harm done if nothing's showing in like 3 weeks to just do some more. You know, because there's enough here for what I need. So I'm just going to sow whatever's left in here. Doesn't look like a lot there, but there's probably about 60 there. And just a case of keep your hand on the move and just give them a right good spreading out. You can thin them out a little bit if you need to. So you put some more compost on that, or you can put vermiculite. So I'm going to put, I've got a little bit of compost left in here, so I'll just dust that on the top for now, for that. And then I'll go with get rid of this bit here and just finish that top bit. He wants a good, like, you know, 5 or 10 mil on top of it. I'll probably water that down as well. Gets it all settled and stuck. Just a quick wetting down, I'm going to have to find my little bottle top waters because this is doing me head in waiting for this thing. It's a good little watering can for doing actual seedlings. You take the rows off it. Yeah, that should be okay. Yeah, a bit of weight in that now. So I'm just going to write a label for that. leaks. That's about everything sewn. So I'll have a bit of a tidy up and we'll come back. Right, while I'm at it, I'll just quickly show you this stuff. Not everything's going to stay in here, but it's just for an example. This stuff is called capillary matting. Years ago, I used to use like old bits of towels and stuff like that, you know, because you can drape it over the side in a little dish of water and it'll wick the water through. That's kitchen roll, you know, and other fabrics. So it's been sort of washed and dampened down, but I'm just going to give it a bit of a splash. And all that does, it kind of evenly distributes the moisture. And in theory, if this feels damp, your compost will be damp in your seed trays. And then it's just a case you get your trays however you want to arrange them. Just nestle them in because it'll just tap into the bottoms of the trays where the little holes are for drainage. But if you've got a lid on it as well, it actually kind of, you know, it humidifies in there, which helps to sort of spread the moisture. Can I get these in here? Yeah. Simply was everything like that, and then get yourself a lid. Shove your lid on. You got your little air holes here. You know, so for a couple of days you can leave it open to let any excess moisture evaporate. Or just close it. Or if if it's getting a bit warm or something, you know, but probably cost you for this whole tray, I don't know, 12 quid maybe. But the lid's usually the dearest thing. But they last a good few years. I mean, I'm a bit brutal with mine, and I pick them up and grab them in corners and stuff like that when I'm carrying about and they've had a few crack. But if you care for them and look after them, clean them. It's got a bit yellow because it's been just sat outside here through winter and it's had moss all over it, so I cleaned it off before. But these will just stay in here for a bit now. Well, some of them anyway. Some are just going to go on the windowsill. That'd be leaks and that. I'll get these out of the way. Right, so I'll have a quick look at that seed storing thing. So recently-ish, I found I can't remember where it was now. It was on YouTube, one of the other gardeners, Tony Smith, I think. He bought some off Amazon. So I thought, oh, it looks alright, I'll get one myself. It's one of these little boxes. With lid on, and inside you've got lots of little boxes. You put your little seed packs in and stuff like that. It's good. I'm not knocking it. It is good. You know, it's very handy for sort of like if you've sown stuff to put what stuff you've sown already in here, or keep all your full packs of stuff in. That's great. But I like to just tend to try and find my stuff quite quick. So my usual seed tray I use for storing stuff. I've had that for some years, but it's currently redundant at the moment because I had a bit of a clear out. Because as you do, you collect seeds year after year after year and end up with loads. One of these, you'll see them online. They are really good. You get some labels with them. I just find they're a bit wimpy then. So you want some further card. Put your bigger packs like your peas and everything come in, and you can kind of organise things in here. But my go-to one that I use most of the time is actually pretty much damn free. It's a cardboard box. Couldn't tell you what come in it. Little tiny thing. It's probably only what, 10" by 8", something like that. And then I've glued a bit of card in the middle. Just fold it. So it's got a little partition. And I've just got some little cards like them. Just like little envelope cards, really. And I write on them what's in them. I don't know where you can see. So I kind of look through. I've got like my lettuce, purple Sprite and broccoli, obviously my chilies, sweet corn, miscellaneous. And there's whatever behind, cauliflower, all the brassicas, all the families are in there. You know, so you could have another box with what you've sown now. But it's just, you don't have to do anything fancy, and it keeps everything nice and organised. So you can just go to that, right, I want them, what family is it in, so you could sort of like do things if you wanted to do, like your brassicas, legumes and that sort of thing. Or just write on what it is, lettuce, cabbage, anything like that. You know where your seeds are, get them out quick and get to them. And like I said, you can keep the ones that you've opened that you're going to sow successfully, successionally, to one side in a little tub like them other ones, because there's nothing wrong at all with these. There's nothing wrong with using an ice cream tub with elastic bands. There's nothing wrong at all. Your seeds don't really mind. Just don't let them get damp, and they should be okay. But it's just a little tip. It's handy. You don't need to spend fortunes, and whatever works well for you. Right, that's about it for this video. So there's been garlic, leeks, onion, peppers, and some chilies that are all done. So I just need to clear up in here now, and then have a cup of tea, I think. So next video will probably be in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks maybe. I'll do the sweet peas next, and see what else there is in case there's any of these that fail, so which could be. It happens, none of these are like real brand spanking new seeds apart from some of the peppers. So my seed potatoes, they're on the way in the post at some point. I bought them off Marshalls this year. I don't usually buy them from Marshalls. I've always gone to JBA, but because there was a few varieties that didn't have in stock, I just thought I couldn't be doing with getting them from different suppliers. And I can't take the risk really going somewhere because I'm shielding my father. He's mid-70s, so I can't take the risk. This pandemic going around, so I've kind of still locked down really. Whole band thing, some of you might know I'm in a band, and that's all kind of on hold, but we've been sort of recording stuff at our homes, and then we sort of collaborate, so it's just trying to get everyone motivated to do it. So there is something coming up soon. While the weather's like this, I might as well get on with some musical stuff in the house, and I've actually bought myself some bait, so I might go fishing if I can find somewhere local, because it's somewhere I can go on my own and I'm isolated, and it's fresh air, but just see what happens. You just don't know what's going to happen yet, but if you can get in your back garden and grow your own food, then you'll be all right. It'll stop you going out of your mind a bit. But still, I say, no rush sowing things. There's a lot of people sowing things early, and that's okay if you can maintain them. So windowsills are good places, but you can get leggy seedlings. So the idea is get them to just fire, and then they need that natural day cycle. Otherwise, if you get too much of a good thing, too much heat, and they'll just grow, and they'll be trying to reach for the light. And don't forget to keep turning your trays as well, because try and get them to evenly straight up. I say grow lights. I might let you look at the grow lights in the next video. I might show you up there, but it's nothing fancy. I've got an EnviroGrow 2-foot strip. It's got 4 2-foot strips in it. That covers one side of it, and then the other side, I've got a single bulb hanging on a wire. Obviously the growing bulb, but for those who are just starting, the single light's the cheaper option. I think it costs about 15 quid to do, and you could probably grow in a seed tray. You could probably do quite easily whatever's in that big tray anyway, easy enough. But obviously soon you've got tomatoes, so you can get overcrowded, so you just need to be careful on your sowing times. So that's it for this video. So take care, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.